Alright guys, today we're going to be wrapping up the comparisons, talking about the G series in 2021. So I have all of the relevant ones that you should pick up. The G8X here, the LG G7, and then the LG G8. So if you do want to see like the actual comparisons that I have done in videos, you just go to YouTube, type in Matthews Tech, and then the phone you want to see, G7, and all of those comparisons will pop up. But today, just answering some questions that I get all the time, I thought it would be easier to just answer them in a video. So one of the questions is, which one is best to get for a price? Okay, so let's start here. The G7 is like $137, so it's extremely cheap. If you're on a really tight budget, the G7 is a perfectly fine pickup for anybody. Under 150 bucks, you're not gonna find a better phone than the G7. So it is really amazing at that price point. Literally, no competition. If you do have the money to spend, I would 100% go with the G8 or G8X over the G7. I would, like I said, if you have the money to spend, save up the extra money. You will definitely, not be disappointed. Even though the G7 does have some things over the G8 and G8X, like the speaker, the boombox speaker is extremely loud on the G7. It is really loud, louder than both of these speakers. Which is pretty nice, and it just sounds better. The bass, it is a really impressive speaker. Just for it being a single firing speaker, always amazes me. Alright, so another question I get is about the display quality. So will you notice a big difference between the IPS and the OLED display? Yes. So the real difference it really comes down to is color and brightness. The G8 and G8X are way brighter than the G7 at max brightness, so that is one thing I noticed. Color wise, then OLED displays are just going to be a little bit more vibrant, and blacks are going to be a little bit deeper, but the G7 still has a very good IPS display. And one thing that you have to remember is the G8X has a 1080p display. The G8 and G7 have 1440p displays, so these displays are higher res, and they overall look really good when you're looking at them close up. When you're far back, you're not gonna really notice a difference, but unless you watch like an actual 1440p video versus 1080p, then you'll notice a slight difference in resolution. But yeah, you will notice a difference with display quality for sure. Alright, so another really good question I got was about the G7. Will it get Android 11? And honestly, I do not think it's going to get Android 11. So if you're buying this phone and you're, anticipating that update, I really don't think it's going to get it. Now, the G8 and G8X, I know for sure, should get the Android 11 update, and it is already rolling out on the Velvet and the V60. I do have a video on that as well. But yeah, so I don't think it's going to get it. Honestly, I think Android 10 was the last update for this phone, unfortunately. Which is 100% capable of running Android 11 fine. It's not like a massive update, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and talk about, what was another question I got? About speed. So we have the Snapdragon 855 on the G8, and then the 845. Honestly, not a huge difference. I mean, if we ran like a speed test, you're going to see the pretty close performance. Open Subway Surf. G8X, G8, and the G7. So you can see that wasn't like a massive difference. Open Temple Run. And these phones are 100% capable of playing the latest games, Call of Duty, Fortnite, PUBG, at high settings. It looked like the G7 got it there first, actually. It's pretty funny. So you can see the G7 is still a very fast phone. So speed, you're not going to notice a huge difference between the 845 chip and the the 855. So you do have 4 gigs of RAM on that base model and 6 gigs of RAM on the G8, and you do have 128 gigs of storage on the G8 and G8X versus the 64 gigs. That is something, but everything else is essentially the same. You have micro SD support. Like I said, great speakers on all of these phones, NFC, IP rating, everything is pretty much the same. Quad DAC is on here. Everything is essentially the same except the physical fingerprint scanner is going on the G8X, and the G8X does have that dual screen case capability. So honestly, that is just a massive difference here. If you want something that's going to do true multitasking, the G8X is really the phone for you if you are a power user. If you are not a power user, then I think you'll be really happy with the G8, just the standard one, because it's got the 1440p display, which again, I can tell the difference between looking at this 1440p display versus a 1080p. I can tell immediately. I can even tell the difference between the 1440p on here versus the 1080p. So like I said, that is a noticeable difference that you will notice, but everything else is essentially the same here. And as far as image quality, yeah, the G8 to me still takes the best photos out of these two, and the G7 would be last, as it should be, because it's the older model. So if you've seen those comparisons, the G7 still takes very good photos, and again, at this price point, I think it takes excellent photos compared to what you would get on a cheaper phone. The selfie camera, really nice looking. These are just really good cameras on the G7, and like I said, I do think the G8 still takes the best overall photos, and I just think the G8 and G8X, the only difference is the front-facing camera. I feel like on the G8 is slightly better for some reason, but that's just me. But the photos, they all look pretty much the same on each device, honestly. So it's not like it's a huge difference between these three phones. They all have the ultra-wide lens as well, which is really nice. So not a huge difference. Like I said, there's not a gigantic difference. So just to break it down, if you want the cheapest phone, you would go with the G7. But the cons, you're not going to get Android 11. The pros, very fast, the best speaker out of these two phones to me. And it's got a really nice feel to it, which is something that I like. And you're not missing anything specification wise. The G8X is for your power user, somebody that wants to do true multitasking. So you have that dual screen case capability, and so you can be playing a game and browsing Instagram, the full page, not split screen, which is going to be an awesome experience. The G8 is for that person that you don't really want the dual screen, but you want the 855, you want the power of the G series, but you also want that 1440p display that's going to be very sharp. But again, not a huge difference between these phones, but they're just very minor. So thanks for watching this video. Hopefully that answers the questions, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.